She fell down 12 steps, and took the whole base down with her. The sound of her body hitting the metal stairs echoed through the hallway like a gunshot, and for 3 full seconds, nobody moved. Nobody helped. 5 cadets stood at the top of the staircase, laughing, phones raised, filming the woman in blue scrubs crumpled at the bottom, not knowing that the quiet nurse they had just shoved down 12 concrete steps was about to bring 3 generals, an entire military investigation, and the full weight of the United States Army down on their heads before the sun set that day. If you believe people deserve dignity, even the quiet ones, even the ones who never fight back, hit that like button right now, drop a comment telling me you're watching, share this with someone who needs a reminder that kindness always wins in the end, and subscribe to Midnight Tales, because today's story is one you will never forget. Her name was Elena Voss, and for 11 months she had worked the base infirmary without a single complaint, without raising her voice, without ever once mentioning who she used to be. She wore no rank insignia. She corrected no one who spoke down to her. She simply showed up every morning at 5, cleaned wounds, changed dressings, sat with homesick 18-year-olds who cried at night and told no one, and disappeared quietly at the end of every shift into a small apartment 3 blocks from the base gate, where she lived alone with a photograph she never let anyone see. The cadets who tormented her, Briggs, Coyle, Hendricks, Park, and Muller, had decided within their first week that Elena was an easy target. She never reported them. She never raised her voice. When Briggs accidentally spilled scalding coffee near her hands, she simply cleaned it up. When Coyle mocked her stutter in front of the whole infirmary, she looked at the floor and kept working. To them, her silence wasn't grace. It was weakness, and weakness, in their eyes, was an invitation. That morning had started like any other. Elena was carrying a tray of medical supplies up the stairwell connecting the infirmary to the east wing when the 5 cadets came down behind her, loud, restless, high on the kind of cruelty that boredom breeds in young men who have never once been made to answer for anything. What happened next took less than 4 seconds. A shoulder check. A foot placed just right. A shove disguised as a stumble. And then Elena Voss was falling, her arms flailing for a railing that wasn't there, her body twisting through the air before slamming down step after step, the tray of supplies scattering like shrapnel, her head finally striking the tile floor at the bottom with a sound that silenced even the laughter above her. For a moment, she didn't move at all. And in that terrible stillness, something in the air of that hallway changed forever, though none of the cadets standing at the top of the stairs understood it yet. What they didn't know, what nobody on that base knew, was that 11 years earlier, before the quiet scrubs and the empty apartment and the eyes that never met anyone's for too long, Elena Voss had worn a very different uniform. She had served 2 tours as a combat medic, had pulled 6 soldiers out of burning wreckage under enemy fire, had been awarded commendations she never once mentioned, and had trained under a man who would go on to become one of the most respected generals in the entire army. A man who happened to be arriving at that very base for an unannounced readiness inspection at that very hour, walking through that very hallway, close enough to hear the crash of a body hitting concrete stairs. General Marcus Whitfield was not a man known for raising his voice. In 31 years of service, those who knew him said his silences were more terrifying than any shout could ever be. When he rounded the corner and saw a woman lying broken on the tile floor while 5 cadets stood frozen at the top of the stairs, cameras still in their hands, he did not shout. He knelt down beside her, checked her pulse with steady, practiced hands, and went pale, not from the injury alone, but from recognition. Because 11 years ago, in a burning transport vehicle half a world away, this same woman had dragged him out by the collar of his uniform after a roadside explosion took the lower half of his right leg, staying beside him under gunfire until the medevac arrived, refusing to leave even when ordered to. She had saved his life. And he had spent 11 years wondering what had ever happened to Corporal Elena Voss, the medic who vanished from records after her discharge and never once let anyone thank her. He called it in himself. Not through the chain of command, not through paperwork. He picked up his phone in that hallway, blood still on his hands from checking her wound, and called 2 other generals directly, men who had served alongside him, men who owed pieces of their own survival to medics just like her. Within the hour, 3 flag officers arrived on that base, and what they found waiting for them was not simply an injured nurse. It was a decorated war hero who had spent nearly a year silently absorbing abuse from cadets who would never in their lives have to face what she had faced, who would never understand the weight of the silence she carried, who had mistaken her humility for something to exploit. The investigation that followed did not take days. It took hours. Security footage from the stairwell camera, footage the cadets hadn't even noticed, showed everything in unbearable clarity: the shove, the fall, the laughter, the phones raised instead of hands extended to help. By nightfall, all 5 cadets had been formally relieved of duty pending court-martial proceedings. Their futures in the military effectively ended before they had truly begun. But General Whitfield did not stop there. He ordered a full base-wide stand-down, training halted, operations paused, every unit gathered in the main hall, because he wanted every single soldier on that base to hear, directly from him, exactly who Elena Voss was, and exactly what it cost people when cruelty is mistaken for entertainment and silence is mistaken for weakness. Elena woke in the base hospital that evening with a fractured wrist, 4 cracked ribs, and a concussion that made the lights above her swim in and out of focus. But what broke through the fog first wasn't the pain. It was the sight of General Whitfield sitting in the chair beside her bed, still in uniform, hands clasped, waiting. He didn't speak right away. He simply looked at her the way a man looks at someone he never thought he'd see again, and when he finally did speak, his voice cracked on the first word. He told her he remembered every second of that burning vehicle, every word she had said to keep him conscious, every promise he had made to himself that if he ever found her again, he would make sure the world knew what she had done. He told her the base had heard her name that day, not as a victim, but as a hero, and that nothing about her time on that base would ever be quiet again, whether she wanted it that way or not. For the first time in 11 years, Elena Voss cried in front of another person. Not from the pain in her ribs, and not from the fall. She cried because after more than a decade of carrying her service like a secret too heavy to set down, someone had finally seen her, not the quiet nurse who kept her head low and asked for nothing, but the woman who had once run into fire so that others could walk out of it. If this story touched something in you, if it made you believe, even for a moment, that the quiet ones are often carrying the heaviest weight, and that kindness and courage are never truly invisible, please don't scroll past without letting me know. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it today, and subscribe to Midnight Tales so you never miss the next story that reminds us who really deserves to be seen. And before you go, I want you to do one thing for me. Comment the word "seen" below if you believe every quiet hero out there deserves to finally be recognized. Because in the end, the base didn't shut down because of a fall on the stairs. It shut down because for 11 long months, everyone had walked right past a hero, and it took a broken wrist and 3 generals to finally make them stop and truly look.